بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الناس ضرب مثل فاستمعوا له إن الذين تدعون من دون الله لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له وإن يسلبهم الذباب شيئا لا يستنقذوه منه ضعف الطالب والمطلوب. الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I greet you with the universal greetings of Islam. Assalamu alaikum. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you. I'd like to share with you some ideas today regarding psychological disorders that exist predominantly in the United States and the Western world that are affecting many a household and many of our youth and many of our families that we don't seem to have an answer for. We sought the answer with the church, we sought the answer with psychiatry, we sought the answer with medicine. People are on Prozac, antidepressants, people are seeking counseling, and it doesn't seem to be making the situation better. It actually seems to be piling up and increasing, and it's something that's a very serious concern for the healthy growth, the intellectual, spiritual growth of a nation, that they address the psychological, the mental, the spiritual disorders that exist in that society. In that light, I'd like to share with you one ayah, one sign, one verse of the Qur'an, where Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nas, an example is being struck, O mankind, Ya ayyuhan nas, O all of mankind. ضُرِبَ مثل, an example, a parable is being given. فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ, then listen to it carefully. Before I go on, one thing that we should appreciate about all human beings is that we are weak in the sense that we don't pay attention to the ideas, rather we pay more attention to the one giving the idea. So perhaps when you're looking at me, you already have certain conclusions made about what I will say or what I carry in me. So before I even get to say it, you've made your decision, either in a positive sense or in a negative one. And this idea weakens the fact that what I have to say, whether it is in and of itself valid or not. And this weakness of the human being is being addressed in this verse by Allah, making it in the passive voice. ضُرِبَ مَثَلٌ, the example is being struck. Allah didn't say here, God strikes an example, Allah strikes an example. He said an example is being struck. Meaning that the focus, the attention that has to be paid is to the example, the content, the idea that's being presented itself. Forget for a moment who is giving you this idea. Forget for a moment the face that you're looking at. Forget for a moment the book that this idea is coming from. Just pay attention to the content itself. Evaluate it for what it's worth. ضُرِبَ مَثَلٌ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. An example is being given. Pay due attention to it. Pay your focus, your attention to it. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ لَنْ يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا. Those who are calling on other than God, the ultimate God, Allah, they couldn't even create a single fly. Some of you probably are wondering why I'm calling Him Allah. Why don't I just call Him God? Well, the term God has German roots, and it's actually something alien to classical Semitic culture. And even in Hebrew and classical versions of the Bible that were translated into Arabic, the term Allah was used for God. So it's not something alien to the Christian world. Actually, the term God is more recent, and the term Allah, even to the Christian and Jewish phenomenon, like Elohim and Eloh, which are the same roots in Arabic as Allah, are common words. So though it sounds today with all the hype about Islam and all the terms that are used, that Allah is the name of some strange God, it's actually something very familiar to those of knowledge from the Christian and Jewish tradition. But back to the subject that I was referring to. The example itself is that those who call on other than Allah, they couldn't even create a fly. لَنْ يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا. They would never be able to even engineer a fly. They may be able to create airplanes or computers, networks. They may be able to create masses of armies. They may be able to design skyscrapers. They may be able to produce massive amounts of incredible technology. But God's example in this ayah, Allah's example in this ayah, is referring to a very small creature, a fly. They couldn't even design and engineer one single fly. And then He says, وَلَوْ اجْتَمَعُوا لَهُ. Even if they all got together and tried to create one single fly, they couldn't do it. Why is this example being struck, and why is that so important? it's a means of humbling the human being. We've become a people that appreciate the things around us so we can benefit from them. But we don't have an appreciation for the things around us that are giving us a sign that these are creations of a higher force. The harmony in every plant, in every tree, in every cloud that's floating in the air, every fly and every bird that's floating in the air. It's reflecting, it's pointing us in a direction that we're refusing to look at because we're too centered towards ourselves. So we're being humbled by this small, tiny example of a fly. But the example doesn't stop here. Allah says, وَإِنْ يَسْلُبْهُمُ الذُّبَابُ شَيْئًا لَا يَسْتَنْقِذُوهُ مِنْهُ. If the fly itself tried to it took away something from your food. It took something away from you, a tiny speck of your food. It doesn't matter if you're the president. It doesn't matter if you're the general of a great army. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or a homeless person. Whoever you are, how much ever power you may have, that one speck of food that this fly took away from you, no matter what you do, you cannot get that speck back. You can kill the fly, or you could try. You could try and catch it. But this tiniest example is humbling the human being. In that no matter how much wealth he amasses and how much status he has in a society, he is still humbled by the smallest creation of God. So here, God is reminding us to be humble, to reflect on His creations, even the smallest of them, that can lead us to humble ourselves before our Master. The philosophy behind this ayah, this verse, has been given. And this is what the heart of my subject is. I began with discussing one of the problems of the American culture being a huge explosion of psychological disorders and psychological diseases. Here God says, ضَعُفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. The seeker is weak, and that which he seeks is also weak. We need to understand this. We live in a primarily consumer society. And a consumer society is built on hopes and dreams that are injected into the people by means of advertising and marketing, by means of beautifying products, by means of creating needs where they might not even exist. So you might feel the need to wear brand name clothing. You might feel the need to get the nicest car out there. You might feel the need for things that beautify your life or accentuate your life, but they're not necessities. But you will feel like they are necessities because you're living in a culture where these things have almost become like necessary evils. And we don't even see them as evils anymore, really. We see them as necessities of life. In such a culture, what are some of the hopes and dreams we aspire towards? If you're a young student in college, you hope to graduate. You hope to get a good job. You hope to get a good home. You hope to get a nice car. Maybe start a family someday. These are some of the hopes maybe many of us carry. Some of us carry the hopes of fame, or of wealth, or of status in society, or of being recognized for our work, or our contribution in whatever area of work or entertainment we're in. But all of these hopes and these aspirations and these dreams, in and of themselves, are weak. And this in turn makes us weak. This is the philosophy of the Quran. That when I am seeking, for example, my career, I can spend years upon years upon years working towards my perfection in my field, in my career. I can become a specialist. I can become, as an example, being a student of psychology, I can become a psychologist and pursue my PhD and my doctorate in the field and become recognized and write a book or two. But it may very well be that after all of my work, I lose my sanity. Something happens to me and I lose the very mind which I was hoping will give me all my status. It may very well be that that job that I was looking forward to get, there are no jobs that I can get, and people much less qualified than I are getting those jobs that I thought I would deserve. It may very well be that if you're looking to buy a house and you buy this beautiful house and you build it after so much investment and time and money and effort, that an earthquake takes it away. It may very well be that you were hoping your whole life that your son or your daughter would be raised and they would have an excellent career, a happy life, a happy family life, and one car accident, one accident, one heart attack at the age of 25, this has become a common phenomenon, unfortunately. You can't even explain it. So there are phenomena in the world that take away from our hopes and dreams. Does that mean that God is cruel, or does that mean that there's imperfection in this world? One of these statements is true. There is imperfection in this world. And this in turn results in our psychological disorders. We're not happy, we're not content. We're constantly looking to please ourselves. Think about this for a second. You thought that when you went out Christmas shopping, or you went out to buy all of these new clothes or gifts or cars for yourself, that it would make you happy. But that same car that you were obsessed with, or those same clothes, that you were, absolutely obsessed with, and you bought, those same clothes don't make you happy after a month. That's gone. That same woman that you wanted to marry or you wanted to be with for so long, once you have her, that desire for her is removed. That same career that you look so forward to having, now you hate your job. So whatever we desire, it seems like when we achieve it, we don't get that pleasure and that satisfaction that we were hoping for, that was driving us to achieve it. Which in turn drives us to produce new desires, new aspirations. We're always looking at the grass on the other side, obviously that being greener. And this in turn is making us weak as a people. As a people, we have become weak to our desires. We don't control our desires control us. This is what in turn makes us weak. Especially at the loss of that which you are pursuing. When you suffer from a loss, all psychological diseases, one or the other, has to do with a loss, a trauma. Loss of a family member, loss of a job, loss of a home, loss of anything that which you were aspiring towards, or that which you held very, very dearly, and you lose it. This is what is at the heart, at the cause of sadness, at the root of depression. And these symptoms, these diseases really, can only be removed if we seek something that if we seek it, it doesn't become stale after we achieve it, like any other desire in this world. And the only thing that once we seek it and we achieve it, we are satisfied and there is nothing more that can quench our thirst, is the thirst for truth. The thirst for the ultimate truth. And the ultimate truth is Allah, is the uniqueness of Allah, is the oneness of Allah, is the fact that He created us, He sustains us, He provides for us, and He has created this world as a test in which we live and we get all of these great beautiful things and we lose some of these great beautiful things. Many times of our lives are of happiness, other times are that of sadness. Why does He put us through these things? Simply put, He explains in another part of the Quran, لِكَيْ لَا تَأْسُوا عَلَى مَا فَاتَكُمْ وَلَا تَفْرَحُوا بِمَا آتَاكُمْ. It is so that you don't become overly excited over what you attained, and you don't become overly depressed over what you lost. Because this shows that you haven't established that ultimate connection with Allah, that ultimate relationship with God, in which whatever comes to you that is out of your control, you recognize that it is from your Creator. Having said this, the Creator of the universe demands on us a very special relationship. This is a relationship that can only be attained if we turn to Him sincerely. The modern trend in religion is, what can God do for me? Well, how can He make my life better? How can I feel good about myself by coming to God? This is altogether the wrong approach according to Islam. According to Islam, our attitude is, what can I do for God? He has done everything for me already. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. No? Did we not give them eyes to see? Didn't we give them a tongue with which they can speak? They don't thank us for that? These people, they don't thank God for that? They don't recognize that they could have very well been born with one arm, or without the ability to speak, or without being able to have children, or they could have been homeless and they have homes. They could have been born, they couldn't afford even clothes on their body, we gave them homes. The fact that you're even born in a country that is thriving and it's well-to-do is from the mercy of God. It could have very well been you would have been born in Afghanistan or in Somalia. It is God's will that you're born here. Don't you thank Him for these things? So we have become a people that are looking for God to make our life better. He will make it better once we seek to do what He wants us to do. He is asking us to turn towards Him. We as a people need to turn towards God. We need to recognize that in His service, we cannot associate partners with Him. We cannot attribute to Him things that we would want to attribute to ourselves. We don't say things on behalf of God without knowledge. We don't say things like God loves you or God is pleased with you. That's the knowledge of God. How dare any of us take that role and say what God is thinking of us? We have to be humbled. And in the faith of Islam, we are humble to Allah in that we don't make the claim that Allah is pleased with the Muslims. We make the claim that we are struggling so that He may be pleased with us. We don't even know. Not until that day of judgment. Not until death comes to me, which He has ordained, will I know where I stand. Until then, I'm in this limbo state where I have to keep struggling for Him to be pleased with me. And I won't know. I really won't know until I get there. So this struggle never ends. And this is a means of keeping myself humble. For if I was convinced that God is pleased with me and He's absolutely content with what I'm doing, and I've done everything I can, then this produces a self-righteous attitude. An attitude that says that I don't need to improve myself anymore because God's already happy with me. So this arrogance is at the root of what the devil himself, the shaitan himself, carried. His primary disease was arrogance. So reminding you of the verse that I shared with you once again, I remind all of us, as people of faith, as people that believe in a God, that we need to humble ourselves before our Creator. We need to thank Him for the good things that He has given us. We need to recognize that we will remain weak as a people so long as we turn to other things for contentment other than Himself. And when we submit ourselves to Him and the truth that He has revealed, you will see a contentment, a peace, a harmony in your life that nothing else in your life has ever given you. And this is a guarantee of His own word. May God make us all people of righteousness, people of guidance, and people of faith. I thank you for your time.